What's up, Top Knot?
How's it going?
It's going. How's it going with you?
Downhill or uphill?
I don't know.
Level? Just level?
That's kind of a weird way to describe shit, because downhill usually means it's bad, you know?
Yeah.
But downhill is usually, what's up, Kaz? It's usually easier to go downhill than uphill, right? So that's usually
Okay, so maybe downhill insinuates go in the flow.
yeah, it's more of a less stressful journey to go downhill. Uphill is up now. It's an uphill battle. So if it's down, either way, you're fucked. It's uphill. It's uphill. It's bad. It's downhill. It's bad. So
yeah, I just live in my car for a while.
We could get you on Jerry Springer. We could get you doing the talk show circuit. I live in my car. So. Well, that's what society's going to now. I mean, like in LA, people are living on the streets in tents, like everywhere. If you look online right now and type in Sunset Boulevard tents, and it is just blocks and blocks of people living in tents. People are just, they're fucked. People financially cannot afford to live in their houses. California is so expensive right now. It is just unbelievably absurd. My guest house that I used to rent when I lived in LA, I lived in LA for about 10 years. I lived in the same spot most of the time, with the exception of the last year before I moved here. I paid under $1,000 for my one bedroom guest house, which was the lower floor of a house. And the woman that I rented from, who owned the house, lived upstairs. And she sold the house in 2010 for about $800,000. And it's in Hollywood Hills, like old Hollywood Hills. And so it was an older house, 1960s, 50s house. So now the house has been bought, refurbished, and resold for like $1.6 million. And my less than $1,000 a month rent is that whole place obviously redone, $4,000 a month now. So it's a bit crazy what the rents are doing out there. And so for $4,000 a month, you're getting an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom, basically, and that's it. From what I had, and I lived alone with the dog. So people are struggling. People are struggling, and they go to California because it's warm, and they can, enjoy the benefits of that and living on the street. And I was talking to you, Kaz, a couple of days ago about leaving and going and doing some possible charity work. I've really been struggling with the fact that we've got people that are buying space to go to Mars now. I saw some company that's going to be, I keep losing Jenny. I've got some company that's trying to send people to Mars. And we've got people like Elon Musk, who has basically already established the fact that he's going to be able to take people to Mars. Mm-hmm. So we've got these space programs to send us and whoever else and whatever else to outer space, yet people on this planet haven't had drinking water clean enough to drink ever. And I'm almost 50 years old, and for 50 years, I've been hearing save the children, donate money, let's help make society better. What the fuck has been going on for the last 5 decades that has taken so long to get any sort of change implemented where we can see some sort of noticeable difference, so we can see some sort of impact?
I mean, I think it's a tale as old as time. This is not just the last 50 years. This goes back centuries. And the sad fact is, poor people don't make you money. And that is cold, hard fact of it is they're not important enough because they're not profitable. So unless you can make money off poor people.
So there, okay. I can appreciate the fact that there is supposed to be, and I was watching something about ancient civilizations and people that allegedly, or I don't know if we can say people, but these entities that came to create humanity potentially and created the human
Ancient
race.
aliens? Is that what you mean?
That's not what I was watching. I knew her ears went blip, 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 perked all up and shit. She's like, I knew he was gonna talk about that shit today. No, but it was similar. It was in that vein, right? They were talking about, you know,
Okay.
on the ancient Sumerians and so on. But we were created to be a slave race. So they came here to mine gold, and they were like, this is too much. You know, we need to create a slave race of individuals to mine all this stuff for us, and we'll appoint these watchers that look over and oversee all these people. So we're supposedly a slave race. So but why would we let so many of our people that are here just be useless? If you're brought here to help perpetuate something else somewhere else, why not at least put all of those people in a position, especially those people that are out in the street? And I can appreciate that there's a percentage of them that have mental health issues and won't work, or have drug problems and won't work. But if I can say, I'll give you drugs, okay, that's fine. If you want to do drugs, that's your choice. It's like, this is what free will is all about. This is what being a human is all about. Doing what you want, doing what makes you happy as best you can. I'll give you the drug, but I need you to go and build this house or whatever. So I don't understand why we wouldn't be utilizing more of the manpower that's available, because our homeless population globally is ridiculous. And the people in Africa and other countries around the world, India and so on, that are just out there struggling, they're not even clothed. I mean, I'd throw away nicer stuff than these people have, okay? So why are we not trying to at least try to uplift these people? Anybody? Nobody?
Well, yeah,
Stupid.
I'm thinking it's kind of along that same lines as Kaz, but what are rich people interested in? What would they rather invest in? Exploring Mars or cleaning the water? And I think they're like, wow, the sexier option. Also, that might favor us, because instead of trying to rectify the issues we created here on Earth, if we can set up our colony in Mars, I'm going to be one of the first people up there, you know. So that might be it. But and also, I guess, like in the time of, you know, like what is it, like in the Cold War, and you had like America and Russia, they're like competing, like who's going to go to the moon first? Probably the amount of ego okay, that's actually underlying all of that was the rocket fuel as such. It was like, right, who is going to be the biggest, baddest, possible, biggest world threat? And that will be determined by who can race to the moon first to show to flex our scientific and our military muscles. And I guess that's part of it. Was I don't understand. I guess like people will cost that as a bigger achievement than if they were to you know, help people out of poverty, to give them the basics of clean water and enough food for a day. But then I think a lot of maybe the thing is, when you were talking about the aliens and stuff, it got me a little bit. I was like, wait a second. Yeah, they want us to be like a slave race. But I'm like, you flew all the fucking way here, right, on your UFO. And then you're like, I need you guys to mine the gold. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you must have some technology already developed so you can get that. I'm like, so why are you making us slaves then? It's just
But
like,
that's the tech. We can create people. We can create like life. That's the tech.
Oh, wait. Okay. Well, that was like, you hadn't
Yeah.
mentioned that. I was like, ooh,
Yeah, because
what I have up my sleeve.
our brains work in this iPad, TV mode where they're like, that's like a microchip to them. They've created
Mm.
life, so they're like,
We are the tech.
exactly. So that's
Okay.
that's how I see that. I was reading.
Oh, sorry, it's freezing up.
That's all right. There's a book called 12 Rules for Life by a clinical psychologist named Jordan Peterson. And I actually wanted to open the show with this excerpt, but I've already started because I just don't know how to follow the rules sometimes. But rule 7 is pursue what is
coffee and Bailey's.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just going to go off the rails quick. Bailey's, man, woo! So so strong. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And it starts off by saying, get while the getting's good. Life is suffering, right? That's clear. There's no more basic, irrefutable truth. It's basically what God tells Adam and Eve immediately before he kicks them out of paradise. What in the world should be done about that? The simplest, most obvious, and most direct answer: pursue pleasure. Follow your impulses, live for the moment, do what's expedient. Lie, cheat, steal, deceive, manipulate, but don't get caught, right? So it's ultimately a meaningless universe. What possible difference could it make? It can't make any difference. And this is by no means a new idea. The fact of life's tragedy and the suffering that is part of it has been used to justify the pursuit of immediate self-gratification for a very, very long time. And that's what we're living in right now. So we find a way to get what we want and screw everybody else, right? And we've somehow created a society that accepts that, and you're sold that this is what you're supposed to do with your life. And it took me about until a couple years ago when I realized that I've been chasing something that I didn't even really want nor need my entire life, because I've been told this is what you're supposed to do by the people that I was around, the people that I grew up with, the TV, the media, whatever the case may be. And you beat yourself up to go and work and, and make money so you can live comfortably when you're too old to do shit. And it's like, why am I not enjoying myself now? Let's have some fun now. I'm 70 years old and it's like, oh, I can quit working now. And it's like, my dick doesn't work anymore. I can't see anymore. The heart's not flowing. I'm not strong. I'm not sexy. I'm nothing now. I'm just an old man that can't do jack, more or less. And
so that's when we can do the office jobs, perhaps.
Fine, exactly. That's when you need that old lady checking you out at the supermarket, because she's just like, fuck it, I can just sit here and say, you want paper or plastic with this? Because it's the third theater on the left. I'll take your ticket and tear it in half. Perfect, right? So that's when I decided I'm done with all of that stuff. But that was just for me, that doesn't always work for everybody else. And I understand that people have responsibilities. You have kids, you've got a family to look after. Like the guy next door, I hear the door slam this morning and I'm like, all right, which one of these fat people is it making all this noise, slamming the door and leaving now? And it was him, and he's rushing out with his briefcase and he's doing his thing, and I'm just looking at him, just shaking my head, going, it's 10 after 10, you must be late, you got to get to the office, to be stressed for the next 9 hours. I think I'm gonna watch Good Morning Britain. Fuck off. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I've found a way. I don't know if I can say I found a way, but I've found a place in my mind where I'm okay with not beating myself up every day. And it's okay to go to work. Some people, they like to go to work, and you find something you like to do and you go do it. That's not work to me. That's getting paid to, enjoy your day. And I think that's what we all need to do. Do you think that's reasonable, or am I just being selfish and that I should be somehow contributing more to the machine?
No, I think you're on the right path, and as I was saying to you, you know, we've kind of taken a similar view on life recently. So I've been doing this whole journey of spiritual healing. I've been doing Reiki and all that kind of stuff, and meditation. And the idea of going back to that corporate machine literally terrifies me, because I've been sitting here for, you know, 12 months getting paid to do fuck all, and it's great. It's been great. You know, I have rinsed the machine pretty well, but having to go back to that rat race, that constant bullshit, because none of it matters. You know, I don't want to have to go and talk to millennials about what type of coffee we have, or, you know, the different types of peanut butter that we buy. Shit like that. It's so meaningless. So no, I don't think you're being selfish at all.
I've found that I closed down the majority of my social media about, I don't know, a few months ago. And I found that it is so much easier to just go through my day when I'm not concerned with posting. Where people are like, why aren't you on? Did you see this on? And oh, go over here and check that. I'm like, I'm not doing none of that shit. I don't want the world to know what I'm doing. It's not important for me to let however many hundreds or thousands of whatever people know what I'm doing. It doesn't matter to me. And I go ahead, Jenny.
I was just going to say, I think even if you're not posting, like, for example, I don't really post that much at all, but the time you take to consume other people's posts.
Jenny doesn't post shit.
Go one day.
Never.
Good. Hold on to a grudge for life. But it's interesting. I'll be like on, you know, Facebook, and like the amount is actually really bad. I did put my like screen time setting, whatever, and I didn't even realize it. I was like, I spend like 5 hours a day like staring at my phone. I don't even consider myself to be much of a, you know, high-end like phone consumer. Well, I know I'm like, there's like a lot of online shopping that I do. Like, okay, I've stopped now because I'm so bored. I've like seen everything. But that's the thing. Even if you're not doing yourself, it can still be very consuming. And like, it's just not time consuming, but energy consuming. And yeah, it just doesn't lead to having a healthy state of mind.
I think we should be doing, and I don't know, this isn't for everybody, but I just think that we should be, I'm trying to figure out, I was doing a little psilocybin cycle again the other day. I was trying to experience something and see what the hell was going on in my brain, and see what I could come up with. And I was talking to my mom before I did it, and she was telling me about someone that she knows that I've known for over 40 years. And his health is failing. His health is failing, like seriously. And I started thinking about it, and it's like, because I've known this person for so long, I've known them my whole life, more or less, since I was like 5, 6 years old. And I don't keep a lot of people close to me. And I mean, like, the people that I keep around me are 100. Like, I don't know anybody around me that's involved in any fuck shit. There's no one that I can think of. I mean, I've not seen it. I don't know what they do when they're not around me, or they know not to bring the fuck shit. Yeah, Jenny.
Queen fuck shit over here.
Don't bring that fuck shit to me, but they know to keep it, you know, in check or whatever. So it's just, it bothers me. It's one of the reasons why I've been hesitant to get another pet, because I hate to see the decline of something's health. You know, it just fucking destroys me to know that this life force is going to come to an end. And I understand that that's how we work, and we return to ash, and I understand all that, and that's part of being human. And I think that's part of probably one of the most awful things about being a human, is being completely aware of our mortality. You know, we know that we're going to die someday. We know this. And, you know, I don't know that, and I highly doubt that there's any other animal that knows that. They are aware of death. You know, like elephants do their little, you know, mourning when one of their group dies and so on. But you don't know that, oh shit, he's sick or whatever. But when we really look at the totality of our lives, I don't understand why we're not doing more to make everybody's life more amazing, because we're only here for a blink, like a
Mm,
fucking blink. And when you're gone, this is what really hit me and what was really messing me up, because eh, when you go, like I said, I was talking to my mom, and I asking her all these questions because, you know, my mom's not gonna be here forever either, and I want to know stuff. And she's like, yeah, you know, so and so. I go, I bet you nobody even goes to this relative's grave anymore. Does anybody
Oh,
even know where her grave is? Because I don't
mm,
ever hear these conversations amongst the family of this person, period. And I remember this person when I was a kid. And apparently my uncle goes, you know, every year and so on, which is great. I'm like, okay, that's great. And then she's like, yeah, you know, so and so and so and so are buried here. And I'm like, I fucking lived right there for a year and had no idea that I had relatives buried literally on a mile away from my house. So what's gonna and I said to her, what's gonna happen in 50 years? You know, I'll probably be dead in 50 years, which is a crazy ass thought to have. But who's going to go to their graves? And nobody. Who's going to even know where their graves are in 100 years? Nobody, you know?
yeah,
So that's a bit much to think about. And we're so focused on our own selfish shit that it's like, I don't want to be all about me anymore. And to an extent, you have to take care. You always have to take care of number one. But if I can help just a small group or even a single person do something better or live better or be happier, that'll make me feel better. So I'm trying to raise money, people out there listening, to go to Africa or anywhere to try and help some people, because I'm tired of seeing the little kids with the flies on their faces on TV, because the corporate juggernauts are like, fuck them. I mean, I know that's the cradle of civilization, but we don't need to, you know, give them anything. We'll just go over there and take the diamonds and, you know, all the resources and
mm.
just rape the shit out of this continent and benefit from it. But we're not going to put anything back into it. So I'm going to put something back into it. And if I die of malaria or whatever, so be it. Who gives a shit? What am I doing here that is so important that if I'm gone, it's going to be like, shit, you know, no one's going to give a fuck. No one's going to care. And off we are to the moon. We're going to the
Yeah,
moon
it's bullshit.
to populate Mars and all this other stuff. And who's going to Mars? You think they're
I
gonna take?
wouldn't want to.
But even if you
no,
did,
same.
if even if you did, you could probably go. But think of the majority of the population that exists on this planet. Do you think that Mars is set up? Is it the program is set up for them to go to Mars?
That's for the elite, whoever can afford it, and maybe somebody can offer something genetically to the human race, you know, if they're incredibly intelligent. It's all, yeah, what kind of leverage do you have as a human being? But yeah, most of the time you wouldn't be able to have shown off that leverage if you didn't have a certain amount of education and things like that. So um when you were talking, it really brought back, it's always resonated with me, that scene in Schindler's List, and it's at the end when you know, everybody's like saying, I'm like literally about to cry, he's like, you know, everybody's like, thank you so much, Oscar, and stuff, and then he's like looking down and he had like a gold brooch, and he was like, why didn't I sell this? I could have saved like at least 10 more people, even though, you know, he'd given away so much of his wealth,
Yeah,
or used it to help so many Jewish people. And I always just, it just made me think, so I feel like the way it just epitomizes what we think is really important in the moment, you know, like having that little, oh yeah, look at me, I'm really successful, or whatever. I'm not trying to detract from all his great deeds, but I just thought it just was so poignant, and it just makes me, yeah, I think, unfortunately, I do think it comes down to the fact, I don't think, I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm a massive socialist, but the capitalist system does not support people trying to find a meaningful purpose, because it's all about anything, even if you want to be an amateur artist. That's a mindset which I wasn't even aware of until I read something like, oh, okay, I painted a picture. oh, how much can I sell it for? So what? Why do you have that mindset? Art is just for the sake of expressing yourself or learning something more about yourself. And then I realized that I feel like, no, I'm like, I don't think capitalism is the answer. I don't think necessarily socialism is. I think it's probably a mixture of the two. But I just hope, I was talking about this with my mother today, but she's saying, I don't know what she was saying, but she was saying she thinks because of what's happening as a result of COVID and all the financial destruction that's happened in people's lives, exactly that, what you're talking about in LA, the Sunset Boulevard or whatever. I would love to see a greater, fairer distribution of wealth. I really feel this is the time. Governments around the world, they need to come together. We need to have a universal allowance for people. We absolutely do, to meet their basic needs. But then again, I mean, I don't feel that would threaten the wealthy elites, but maybe these are not new ideas. Why haven't any of these things come to fruition before? And it all comes back to what you said at the beginning, Kaz. It's just like, I just feel like, what is this? Like, why don't we want to help each other, empower each other? But I think that's the word, empowerment. They don't want that. They want people who are not educated, who would do anything just to feed themselves and their family. They will work in those factories, do those jobs they hate. Well, the owner of the factory is ringing their bell, asking for, I don't know, that Winston to bring some more fresh caviar. I mean, baffles me.
Yeah, same. I can't get my head around anybody that doesn't want to help anyone else, and it really upsets me when it's somebody that I know and love that I hear just not giving a shit about things. And I just think, but why though? Why are you so consumed with your stuff? Like, I'll use my mother as an example, and I hope she doesn't listen to this, but
I hope she does. More listeners.
Call her out, Kaz.
Already had like a huge argument recently, so I hope she doesn't. But it's like, you go to their house and it is just full of stuff. And I had this conversation. I was very frank with her, and possibly a little bit mean, but I was just kind of looking at stuff, and I said, what the fuck is that? Like, what is it? It's just an ornament. And it just, you would have no idea what it was. And it looked kind of like a UFO with these little tubes coming up from it. And it was just on her shelf. I said, well, what's it for? And she said, oh, I just like it. But it doesn't do anything. It's not functional. Like, why do you have it? And then she's got a whole cabinet, and it's full of crystals and trinkets and little boxes. And I'm like, I've got to clear all this out when you die.
Exactly. I think that's it. That's exactly it, though. Like, when people reach a certain age, and my mom is guilty. Everybody's mom's guilty of this. And this is actually a problem of society. We've amassed things throughout our entire history as people, right? So I actually do. I know for a fact, I still have books that I wrote when I was probably about 8 years old. When I went to school, you could write a book, and we had a little publishing thing, and you drew the pictures and shit inside. I still have that. So from 40 years, I still have the same books, and you just keep buying more and more shit. And I was telling my mom, like, you gotta stop buying stuff, because when you die, I gotta get rid of all this shit. So, and like you said, I'm sitting here earlier this week, or maybe it was the weekend, I don't remember, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm surrounded by all this stuff, and there's literally 2 computers, an iPad, a phone, a hard drive, an iPod, and there's all this shit on my just this one desk, and I got it all duplicated again downstairs in the studio, and I don't need all this shit. I don't need it. And there's people that are like, damn, I wish I had, and I've got like 6 of these things, and it doesn't do me any benefit to have it all. But to go back on what you said about why don't people want to help people more. I think we've been trained to not want to help people more
I
because
agree.
we've been taught that this is a rat race, you know, and if you don't keep up, you're going to get trampled, and you got to keep up with the Joneses. And oh, you drive that car, or you know, or damn, those aren't in style anymore. I actually had a girlfriend tell me that once, and I was like, you lousy.
You gotta go. Gotta go. Yeah.
You know what she said to me? It's so funny. I had never had anybody say something so ridiculously out cold to me. I bought these shoes. They were Kenneth Cole. They were like tan suede, wood bottoms. They were nice looking shoes, I thought. And she goes, "Oh, I didn't even like those when they were in style." And I was like, "Damn." I was like, "You're lucky you're hot, but you're out of here soon." So, so we're conditioned to want the best and to be able to show you that we've got the best or what we've got, you know, and it's because of what's on TV, and it's all very intricately detailed. And I was watching this documentary that I impress upon everybody listening to go and watch, and it's called Can't Get You Out of My Head. And it's a BBC documentary. If you don't have BBC iPlayer, download it and watch it. It's a 6-part series, I think, documentary, and it's incredible. And it's incredible. And they talk about conspiracies and how easy they are to be, you know, created. And they talk about communist China, and they talk about all this shit. And it's just so well done that I've started watching it again. I'm episode 2 tonight. And it's just ridiculous how we're trained to just think that we need and think that we should have and screw you because you're different. And society is just too divided right now. You know, it's like the UK is like the most disunited kingdom I can ever imagine. There's nothing cohesive about any of this shit. Or America is the same way. It's like we had the verdict of this Derek Chauvin, or whatever the fuck this guy's last name is, that killed George Floyd last year, that sparked all these riots in the US last night. And I was sat here doing something, and I got a ping from, you know, the news feed back home, and I'm like, oh God, I got to turn the TV off and I got to listen to this. Because if they say that this guy's found not guilty, this is going to be like one of the biggest moments in American history right now, because people are going to burn the country down right now if they find this guy not guilty, which is, I can't ever go. And I'm sat there thinking I can never go back to America if this guy's found not guilty right now. I can't, because it's going to be so contemptuous, and people just hate each other at such a visceral level beyond anything I've ever seen. And I just think there's too many of us. There's too much shit going on. There's too much shit available for us to have options and to hate against and like. And it's like, if you got an Apple computer, you know, you hate PC. And if you got a PC, you hate Mac. And if you drive a Mercedes, you hate BMW. And, you know, and it's just like, oh my God, why can't we just smile? Dude, look at this world we live on. Have you seen this planet? It's so fucking cool. And everybody's worried about, you know, let's go stand in line and get some new Jordans and bruh, and they're trying to be on Instagram and smiling, and I'm here and I gotta be.
See, that's something I don't get. I don't get the Insta, the TikTok, the like influencing. Somebody said to me, I see you as an influencer. I was like, I don't want to influence people. I want to inform people. Yeah, that's
good.
Great.
Nice difference.
I would like to inform people, and then they can make their own fucking choices. I don't want to influence people and make them want shit. That's weird. I don't understand it. But like the last, I don't know, 15 years, we've got out of control. Like, we have everything available at the touch of a button. I can sit on my sofa and get dinner delivered to me. I could get a whole fridge full of food delivered to me. I could get whatever I want. I can order a film. You know, we are so spoiled.
Well, but that's going to end because you said a touch of a button, and Elon Musk has made it so that you don't have to touch that button anymore.
Good. I was really tired of touching these buttons. Really took it out of me.
All you have to do is think about it now. right?
I
No,
had to
because
think about it.
I think way too much about food. I would have food turning up
Just
every
like
fucking
bombarding. You're
second.
like, hi, Kaz. It's just
sorry.
like chickens all around you.
You're
Like,
like,
okay.
hold on, there's somebody at the door.
But
I heard you wanted a cheeseburger. Sorry, J-Rod, what's up?
well, I don't know. I've had like so many different thoughts. I think though, like for example, going back to kind of the work lifestyle, that is like 9 to 5, which originated, I think, very much from the kind of factory like way of life.
Yeah,
Even
the
like, and that's like
industrial revolution.
revolution,
Yep.
exactly, and that still informs the education system very, very heavily. We are not, because of that. Okay, yes, sit your desks, make money, be stressed. We're not doing all these things that we should be doing to create longevity in our life. No, it's not even about longevity, because I don't actually want to live until the age of 100, but I don't have my health. What is the point of that? So we're not being told, take a moment, go out for a walk, and maybe exercise more. No, because you need to have a sedentary lifestyle. You need to be at your desk 9 to 5 in most jobs. So I think this is one of the silver linings of the, well, I feel it'll be short-lived, of the lockdowns and COVID, is that people are kind of realizing, as you said, Kaz, that there's people are traveling more within. They are, having a bit more of a spiritual awakening. They're kind of like, what's really important? And like you, I'm exactly the same. I think I've got a contract now to start next week for a job I really don't want. But the fact they said it was like a monthly rolling contract, I was like, cool, maybe I can quit after the first month. I was just like, grind my teeth for 1 month and then we're like, okay, cool. Because I just bought a car. Then I'm like, I got enough money. Don't need any more. Thank you. So I'm absolutely dreading, because I found it very, as like meaningless. So I think a lot of people, especially after they were made redundant, actually I was thinking of becoming a plumber. I wasn't too sure what kind of spiritual satisfaction that was going to give me. Maybe if I unblock some pipe blockages, something spiritually will happen too. Some chakras will unblock. I'm pretty sure there's a high correlation, the holy plumber. And so I've been looking at things. But the interesting thing is, so I went to India a couple of years ago, and my dad, he's been going out there for a few years, and he helps at a school. It's part of a charity called Slum Aid. And okay, we don't really do anything. I'm not going to say we're out there like building sanitation. We're not like, doing really hardcore education with the kids by any means. We're literally there goofing around, taking care of the kids, having some fun, teaching them some English, doing some maths games. And it's such a breath of fresh air for them, because the system, if you thought the education system here was rigid, it's far more rigid over there. And actually they literally live on a rubbish tip. This is what we're talking about. And there's one little girl who I really, really loved. She was in a dire situation. Her mom was resorting to prostitution so she could get enough food for her family, because the husband was an alcoholic, the son was a drug addict, and they were living under a piece of tarpaulin. That's really what it was. And so my dad and I, we're helping, and we were like, and we have sent money and things since. And I have to be completely honest here. I was, especially like after I left, I was very like, I was helping with the charity, I was doing some online stuff for them, and I was really wanting to get more involved. And I've sent money out there, especially during COVID, because they didn't get any government support, nothing at all. But then it sounds awful, but like it kind of that zealousness kind of like fades away a bit, because then the mindset just changes, because then you're like, oh god, I'm gonna get a job, like, oh yeah, should I go to Zara, kind of thing. And I think sometimes the materialism kicks in here, because I'm not fulfilled by my work, and then you're like, I've been sacrificing my freedom, my whatever happiness, so therefore I am going to buy some shit to kind of appease that sacrifice. And I think when you don't have, like, I know, like, any of us, if we saw somebody who was like, oh, can you give me a glass of water or something, like, let's say we'll be like, here you go, but I feel when it's not on your doorstep, you're not constantly exposed to it. I mean, I guess, you know, I'm probably I might go back next year depending on what happens with COVID, but it does feel very far removed from your normal everyday situation. And because unfortunately, I don't know if you guys saw it. It was, I don't know, it was like making the rounds on social media at one point. And it was about this, I think, about this video, and it was saying like anybody could become a refugee. And it was like this birthday party, like I think here in England, and then suddenly like they're at war, and like this white middle class family have become refugees. And unfortunately, when I think when we see people in these dire situations, they feel so far removed from us. And it's but then that worries me, like, what if I was ever to become somebody who needed that help? And then, you know, you hear these pleas like, oh, like, what, imagine if you were us. But until then, you can't really empathize, like completely. No, you empathize, but not to the extent where you're like, wow, I have to do something. And I think unfortunately that's why things happen to certain people in many different fields of life, because it propels them to take action, to change the law, to set up this. And
I agree. I came out of Sainsbury's a little while back, and there was a woman out the front begging, and I said to her very honestly, I'm so sorry, I don't have any change, because who carries cash around now at the moment? And this woman behind me went, get a fucking job, innit, love? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she said, get a job like the rest of us. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you want me to agree with you, but I don't. It's not as easy for a lot of people as it is for someone like you getting in your Audi. So maybe be less harsh on people. You don't know you don't know her circumstances, you don't know where she's come from. And I just felt really so far removed from the society that I live in right now. I just feel like I'm not on the same wavelength at all. I don't have TikTok, I don't, you know, have Insta accounts with thousands of followers, and, you know, I just don't get it. What are we trying to achieve?
Well, you don't have to get it. That's good, because you're older, and that TikTok, all that shit's for kids. So it's like that stuff's for them. Let them have it. And I was thinking this just maybe today or yesterday. It's like, what are these people gonna do with our society when I'm 65 years old? How are they gonna be fucking it up? You know, because they're gonna be out there running stuff and creating stuff, and you know, it's wild to even think about what these 20-year-old people are going to be doing when they're 35 years old and they have some power to an extent, I guess. But you said something, J. Ryan, I wanted to comment, and I've lost it. But
was it about if we're not facing those people in need constantly, we kind of...
I think what I know, one of the things I wanted to say is, when you say you weren't really building stuff in India and so on, sometimes that little bit, it depends on, you know, you might touch or catch the right person and touch them in a certain way where that little bit of interaction is all you needed to make a difference in their life, to make them happy, or to spark something in them, you know, to make them, and they remember you. I know they do. They absolutely do. I used to do community service as part of my graduation requirement, and I used to go to the school and was a teacher's assistant to these little, you know, 6 through 8-year-old kids. And I still remember a couple of these kids. I'm like, these kids were hilarious. And I had a great time hanging out with these little kids. And one of them's name was Andrew M. And he liked to play basketball. He always had his little Jordan t-shirt on, this little blonde haired kid. He had his friend named Duncan. And there was this, you know, this one girl who was always picking on the other girls. And I was like, yeah, she's going to be a problem when she gets older. You know, and I'm like, God, I was wondering, what are those kids doing now? You know, and then I wonder if they remember me being there, because I used to have a mohawk then. I had crazy green hair and shit. And there was a little girl.
I remember you.
Yeah, probably. there was a girl from England. Her name was Chloe, and she used to play with my hair and stuff. And It's like those kids were only like 10 years younger than me. You know, those kids are almost 40 years old now, and they're not kids. They've got kids. They might even have grandkids now, which is crazy. But I think we need to really just spend more time. And what it was that I wanted to say now that I thinking it through, COVID has really made it apparent to a lot of us that, like what you said earlier, Kaz, I believe it was Kaz, that the shit that we did doesn't really mean shit. Like, all going to work and all that stuff, we can all do most of this. Most of us can do all the stuff we were doing from home, right? And a lot of people were saying, you know, most of their lives, you know, if I had, you know, didn't have to go to work, I'd do this, that, and the other. Well, now you've had a year to not go to fucking work, and you've done all that. So you've done it, and you've been able to do it. You've gotten fat, or you've gotten in shape, or, you know, you've done whatever. And a good portion of us have really had a chance to, and I think during the latter portions of this lockdown, really get a better understanding of who we are, and really understand that I don't align myself with that, and I don't need that. And now I think we're going to see the rebirth of society probably in about a year, because people are going to be thrust back into their jobs. Like you said, I don't want to go back. It freaks me out. I was talking to someone and like, oh, we're going back to the office in May. And she's like, I'm horrified to go back to the office. You know, I don't want to go back to work. And people are going to be making big decisions. And I think they're going to be deciding, okay, I don't want to be a part of this anymore, or I need to figure out another way to make money so that I don't have to do what these people are doing, because it's not what I'm about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm already thinking, I live in Southeast London, and a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a stabbing on the high street, literally around the corner from where I live. And this week, there was a stabbing up the road in my favourite restaurant in Dulwich.
In the restaurant.
In the restaurant. So this guy had been chased by two dudes on scooters, and he'd taken refuge in this restaurant. They found him in this restaurant and then stabbed him anyway. And this was during the day. This was at 4:15 in the afternoon.
Damn.
And I was walking to the shop today. This is like 2 days after the event. I'm walking to the shop, and I am so on edge. Everybody that's walking behind me, I let walk past.
Fear in the air.
It's terrifying. If a car slows down, I'm like, bit cautious, slow down, so that, you know, I'm so nervous in this area, and I never was before. So I think everybody is like I said to my boss earlier, I think everyone is getting COVID fatigue. Everybody is getting really anxious about being at home. They can't do what they want. I mean, you know, there are worse things than being locked up at home for however long where you're safe, but it does become really frustrating. And I think that's really starting to come out now. So even I'm looking at ways that I can get out of London, move to a quieter place. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there's so many people that live in London that are like, yeah, bye. If I only have to be in the office 2 days a week, great.
Yeah.
I can
train in
2 days a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Save money, cheaper rent, the safety. I think people are also appreciating, like my friends in London, like they had very limited places where they could walk and things. So I think that's something they're looking for now, to have that bit of nature closer to home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my place is twice the size of the place I left, and it costs less money. And there's not as many people out here. It's crazy. Like, I was talking to the woman behind me. She owns like 4 houses that she rents out behind me, and the one she lives in. And she's like, why'd you move out here? And I was like, look at it. You know, I'm like, I'm coming from Surrey, and there's like, once lockdown hit, there were like 100 people walking past my window every day, you know? And it's like, I don't even see 100 people in a day out here. I mean, there's parks, and there's lakes all over the place, and there's stuff to do. But I like you said, there's going to be a societal shift. I think we're going to see crazy
Okay.
stuff. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know. Rich people are going to do what they're going to do, and once they stop taking advantage, well, that's never going to happen. So I don't even know why I'm going down that conversational route, because that's nonsense. But
Mhm.
I think once people just really come to the terms of life and they say, hey, you know, this doesn't make me happy anymore and I can't deal with that, and I'd rather just scale down my life and I'm not so concerned with other things, that's when what you'll find will make you happier. And if you can afford to buy a flying car for 800,000 pounds, then buy one, you know, or if that's what if you're into, then go for it. But I don't need that to be happy. I'm cool with this little bit of stuff that I've got and the cool people that I keep around, and it is what it is. So
I just want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, that that series by a guy called Adam Curtis.
yes.
He also did something called Hypernormalization, which I think is a good 2-hour documentary, also on BBC iPlayer. Also super interesting. This guy has just got so much insight into
His
society.
documentaries are ridiculously good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was like, I don't even really, I mean, I'll watch docs and I like them, but this shit was good. I was like,
Yeah.
you have to watch it because it's 6 episodes. I mean, it's like a whole bunch of different topics all in each episode, but it's stitched together extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
Definitely will check that one out. What's it
Yeah.
called again for the people listening?
It's called Hypernormalization. He's got another one, and I can't think of the name of it for the life of me. But they're everything is on iPlayer. If you just look at Adam Curtis.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. So I'm checking that out. We're going to get out of here, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't be a dick to people. You don't know what they're going through. Be nice. It'll come back to you, I promise. Everything that comes around goes around. You know, everything happens for a reason. If you're nice to people, people will be nice to you. I don't have anything else to say. I want to thank these 2 lovely ladies for sitting down and talking some shit with me today. I appreciate it. It's Wednesday, April 21st, I believe, 2021. Go check out Who News at v3tv.uk. You can check out this show at v3tv.uk if you're listening. We're all over the place. Thanks for listening.